Stephen A. Smith claims he gets 95% of his predictions right. The reality? He's been wrong about NBA Finals picks 6 years straight, a statistical impossibility with 1.56% odds. But that's not even the worst part. What I'm about to show you will change how you see ESPN's highest paid personality forever. You're looking at a man who defies mathematics itself. 6 consecutive wrong NBA Finals predictions. Do you know what the odds of that are? 1.56%. That's like flipping a coin and getting tails 25 times in a row. But here's the retention bomb I promised. By the end of this video, you'll discover the exact moment Stephen A. went from having LeBron James' personal phone number to being publicly humiliated by him on live television. And trust me, it's worse than you think. 25 years ago, Stephen A. Smith was the most connected NBA reporter in America. Players returned his calls. Coaches leaked him information. Allen Iverson considered him family. Today, Kevin Durant calls him a clown. LeBron James confronts him during timeouts. What happened? The answer lies in a transformation so complete, so devastating, that it created the biggest credibility crisis in sports media history. And I'm going to show you exactly how it happened. From journalist to entertainment. In 1994, Stephen A. Smith was everything ESPN claims to value today. A real journalist with real sources. As a beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, he didn't just cover games, he lived them. He was there for shoot-arounds, team meetings, the moments that actually mattered. His relationship with Allen Iverson wasn't just professional, it was personal. Stephen A. himself admits, "There is no way in my mind I would be sitting here today with the success that I've enjoyed if it wasn't for Allen Iverson." When AI was the second biggest star in basketball behind Jordan, Stephen A. had his ear. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is something most people don't know. Stephen A. wasn't always the screaming hot take machine you see today. He had his own talk show called Quite Frankly with Stephen A. Smith. It was ahead of its time, featuring one-on-one interviews with athletes in front of a live audience. Think of it as the predecessor to modern podcast culture. The show failed, and that failure changed everything. When ESPN brought him back, they didn't want the journalist Stephen A. They wanted the entertainer. The company had discovered something crucial. Controversy sells better than credibility. So Stephen A. made a choice that would define his career. He traded his sources for sound bites. But wait, there's something even more shocking coming. Keep watching. The pattern of disrespect emerges. The transformation wasn't immediate. It was gradual, like watching someone slowly lose their mind. The first major crack appeared in 2015 when Stephen A. reported that Kevin Durant might leave Oklahoma City for Washington or Los Angeles. KD's response was brutal. "I don't talk to Stephen A. Smith at all, so he's lying. He's making up stories." Now, here's the twist. Stephen A. fired back with something that reveals everything about his mindset. Kevin Durant is the one that's lying. I've talked to him on several occasions, literally within the last year. My brother, you are in no position to question my credibility whatsoever. Notice what happened there? Instead of providing proof, Stephen A. made it about ego, about respect, about who has the right to question whom. This wasn't journalism anymore. It was personal. The feud with Kevin Durant became a template. When KD joined the Warriors, Stephen A. called it the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar. When KD won championships, Stephen A. dismissed them. When KD finally had enough, his words cut deeper than any criticism. I've been in the league for 18 years. I've never seen Stephen A. at a practice or a film session or a shoot-around. I've never seen him anywhere but on TV talking expletive about players. He's a clown to me. He's always been a clown. That last line, "he's always been a clown," is devastating. It means KD never respected him, not even during Stephen A.'s journalist days. But it gets worse. Remember Kwame Brown? Stephen A. didn't just criticize him on TV. He went on a nationwide college tour, traveling from campus to campus, trashing Kwame Brown to college students. Think about that. A grown man getting paid millions by ESPN, touring colleges to mock an NBA player to kids. Kwame's eventual response was nuclear. "Stephen A., you bald forehead expletive. I don't know why you got people thinking you tough, saying all kind of expletive like, 'Oh, then you come see me. I'll slap you so hard you'll look like you got a toupee on the front of your head.'" The man Stephen A. had spent years destroying finally fought back. And Stephen A.'s response? He admitted he regretted it. "I wish I could do that over." I wouldn't do it. But here's the question. If he regrets the Kwame Brown situation, why does he keep doing the same thing to other players? The prediction problem. This is where it gets mathematically impossible. Stephen A. Smith has been wrong about NBA Finals predictions 6 consecutive years. The odds of that happening by chance, 1.56%. That's not just bad luck, that's a systematic failure of basketball knowledge. Yet he claims to get 95% of his predictions right. Let that sink in. A man who's wrong about the biggest games of the year claims 95% accuracy. It's like a weather forecaster who predicts sunny skies during every hurricane claiming they're right about local forecasts. Peak conflict, February 2024. The moment that changed everything. Stephen A. Smith crossed a line he'd never crossed before. He stopped criticizing LeBron James the player and started criticizing LeBron James the father. When Bronny James had a rough game against the 76ers, 0 points, 1 assist, 0% shooting, Stephen A. didn't just critique the performance. He went after LeBron's parenting. I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this, stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad. The response was immediate and brutal. During a Lakers timeout, with cameras rolling, LeBron James walked over to Stephen A. and confronted him face to face. The exact words weren't picked up by microphones, but Stephen A.'s own description tells the story. That was LeBron James coming up to me unexpectedly to confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son. But here's the twist I promised you at the beginning. This wasn't just about Bronny. This was about years of built-up resentment. Because Stephen A. had been spreading misinformation about LeBron for years. Remember when Stephen A. claimed LeBron didn't attend Kobe Bryant's memorial service? Complete lie. LeBron was there. He just asked for no photos to be taken. Stephen A. had turned a moment of private grief into a public criticism based on false information. The confrontation with LeBron wasn't just about basketball analysis. It was about a pattern of reckless journalism that had finally caught up with him. But the LeBron incident wasn't even Stephen A.'s biggest ego-driven mistake. That honor goes to what he did to Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman was brought in to replace Skip Bayless as Stephen A.'s co-host on First Take. For a while, it worked. The two had chemistry. They created memorable moments, and the show thrived. But behind the scenes, Stephen A. was seething. Why? Because Max was beating him in basketball debates. Max knew the game, understood analytics, and could back up his arguments with facts. Stephen A. built his career on being the basketball expert. And here was his co-host showing him up daily. So Stephen A. went to ESPN management with an ultimatum. If he's that important to you, give him First Take. I'll leave. 2 hours later, Max Kellerman got the call. He was off the show. Think about that. Stephen A. Smith got his own co-host fired not because Max was bad at his job, but because he was too good at it. The man who claims to want the best basketball analysis available couldn't handle being out-analyzed on his own show. The moment that sealed Max's fate, when a guest said, "Max seems blacker than you, Stephen A." The look on Stephen A.'s face was pure rage. His ego couldn't handle even the suggestion that someone else might be more authentically connected to basketball culture. Resolution. So here we are in 2025. Stephen A. Smith is ESPN's highest paid personality, reportedly making $12 million annually. He has more influence than any sports media figure in history, and absolutely nobody in the NBA respects him. Kevin Durant sums it up perfectly. I've never seen Stephen A. at a practice or a film session or a shoot-around. I've never seen him anywhere but on TV talking expletive about players. That's the credibility crisis in one sentence. Stephen A. has more platform than any NBA analyst ever, but less access than a local beat writer. He's the most powerful outsider in basketball, and that's exactly the problem. When Kyrie Irving wanted to address Stephen A.'s criticism during the COVID vaccine controversy, his response was generational. Stephen A. Smith, you're going to have to explain yourself to people in your generation. I'm not around many 50-plus-year-olds that speak and act like you do. I'm sure my father and my uncles can meet you on your level better than I can. Kyrie didn't just dismiss Stephen A.'s basketball takes, he dismissed him as a person. That's how far the relationship between Stephen A. and NBA players has deteriorated. But here's the paradox that defines Stephen A. Smith in 2025. He's more relevant than ever while being less respected than ever. Players hate him, but they can't ignore him. Coaches dismiss him, but they still have to answer questions about his comments. He's become the Skip Bayless of basketball analysis, someone whose opinions carry weight not because they're insightful, but because they're loud. The NBA doesn't respect Stephen A. Smith, but they're trapped in a cycle where his platform is too big to ignore. Recent events prove this. When Stephen A. criticized the 2025 NBA All-Star Game format, blaming players for not caring enough, the response from current players was swift and harsh. Multiple All-Stars took to social media to call out his comments, with one anonymous player telling The Athletic, "He's never played at this level, never coached at this level, never been in our locker rooms. Why should we care what he thinks?" The answer is simple, because ESPN pays him $12 million to think it, and that platform gives his thoughts weight whether they deserve it or not. Stephen A. Smith's transformation from respected journalist to controversial entertainer represents everything wrong with modern sports media. He traded credibility for cash, sources for soundbites, and respect for relevance. In 1999, Stephen A. Smith could call Allen Iverson and get him on the phone. In 2025, Kevin Durant calls him a clown on the record. That's not just a career change, it's a complete reversal of relationships. Stephen A. Smith doesn't just represent what's wrong with sports media. He represents what we as fans have allowed to happen. We've rewarded the loudest voice instead of the smartest analysis. We've made controversy more valuable than credibility. And the NBA players, they see right through it. They know the difference between a journalist who's there to cover the game and a personality who's there to create content. They know Stephen A. Smith isn't in their locker rooms, isn't at their practices, isn't part of their world. He's just a guy on TV talking about them. And that's exactly how they treat him. What do you think? Is Stephen A. Smith a symptom of what's wrong with sports media, or the cause? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that subscribe button, and hit the bell for notifications. More deep dives coming soon.